Hello and welcome back to the Statuesque Events YouTube channel. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to be back here. So excited to have you guys here today because it's 2022, all right? And it's time for us to make plans for 2022 as we're planning our weddings and our events, right? So before we get too far, I'm gonna go ahead and introduce myself. My name is Faye Shaw and I'm the owner of Statuesque Events. We are a wedding planning and design company based here in the DC metro area. Shout out to the DMV, but we do weddings all over the US. So for instance, we've done weddings in Florida, Connecticut, just about everywhere in between. And we love working on modern multicultural events. Now, on the other side, I'm also a business coach and I run an accelerator program called Planners Who Profit. It is all about helping wedding planners to elevate their business, to make more money in your business, book more clients, and serve them well. So if you're starting a new business or if you're looking to elevate your business, we have two different programs for depending on what level you are and you want to learn more about that. All right. So if you want to learn more about working with us at all that information is in the description box and I want to chat with you more about that. All right. Really excited about chatting about wedding trends because I've got 5 wedding trends for 2022 that you don't want to miss out on. You want to consider these and incorporate them in your weddings or your events. So if you're like, oh my gosh, I want to make sure my event is thebomb.com, I want to make sure it's out there, I want to wow my guests, right? Like these are things that you want to consider. All right. So if you're ready, say you're ready in the comments. I always love seeing comments. I reply to everyone. And I'm really excited about diving into these 5 trends that I think are going to be super big for 2022. All right. Now, number 1. At the time of recording this video, we are anticipating a surge of COVID cases, seeing more people catching the virus. And while the virus is, thankfully, some of the variants are not as harsh and, many people are vaccinated, COVID is still a concern, right? No one wants their wedding to be a super spreader and no one wants, anyone who might be compromised to catch COVID at your event, right? So because of that, one of the biggest trends for this year, which I think was already starting to be a trend last year, but I think is going to increase even more this year, for the sake of food safety, is having plated meals, right? I will say, as someone who does multicultural events, as someone who likes to eat a little bit of everything, I love buffets, right? I love being able to get everything I want. And yeah, even the things that don't go together, right? I like being able to do that. But the truth is that for the sake of food safety, it is advisable to stick with plated meals, maybe have a few different options, chicken option, beef option, veggie option for people to choose from, make sure there's lots of sides and all of that, could be creative in it, but plated does make people feel a little bit more comfortable, especially when you start talking about buffets where people are serving themselves, multiple people touching the server handles and all that, like it gets messy. And even when someone is serving you, the truth is that there's a lot of talking going on, a lot of times people are talking to the servers, there's lots of people passing through the same space and all of that. So one thing that helps a lot just to reduce a little bit of risk is having a plated meal. It also feels very elevated, to just sit at your seat and have someone bring you your food versus you having to go up and stand online. So definitely plated meals is something that I've always loved, I've always enjoyed. And I think that just for the sake of COVID safety, that's one real quick tip on ways to keep your guests safe while also having a beautiful event, right? So plated meals, I think, are going to be really, really big. Now, another trend that I believe is going to be big, again, because of COVID, is having more spaced out wedding floor plans, right? Typically in a lot of venues and a lot of spaces, people seat 10 people to a table, right? You might have a round table, you put 10 people there, and that feels good, it's common. But I think that now with COVID being a concern, if that's something you're thinking about, having fewer people per seat helps a lot, right? Like having 6 to a table, having even fewer to a table. When COVID first happened, one of our first weddings, actually all of the weddings that we had in 2020 before the vaccine was widely available and while places were starting to open up, all of the events that we had were actually for medical doctors. And so you already know we were not trying to have no type of super spreader events at our weddings, right? We were not trying to be in the news for a super spreader happening at a doctor's event. And at all of these events, we sat people by household. So there were some tables of 6, there were some tables of 8, there were actually some tables of 10, a lot of big families, and there were some tables of 2 because we really wanted to keep people safe because you can't have a mask on while you're eating people. So having more spaced out weddings where, maybe tables are spaced out if you're in a bigger space or if you're outside and you have the space for it, having fewer people at seats and just creating a little bit more space, I think is going to be a trend, largely again because of COVID concerns. All right. Now, another huge trend, because in case you didn't know, this is 2022. And in 2022, we are predicting to have more weddings than we have ever seen in a single year in the United States since the 1960s, right? So that's like, it's been almost 40 years since we've had a year that had this many weddings that we're anticipating in 2022. So because of that, ladies and gentlemen, I know you may not want to hear this, but as you're planning your weddings, it's important to know that you are going to have to compromise on certain things to get everything that you want. There's a huge surge, vendors are in high demand, and so are venues. So because of that, one big trend, which is actually a lot of fun, is weekday weddings, getting married on a Wednesday, getting married on a Thursday, getting married on a Tuesday. Friday is, I don't know if you would consider that a weekday wedding, but getting married during the week. The truth is that those people who really love you, those people who want to be there, who are happy for you, they will show up, right? It doesn't matter what day of the week, they will show up. We've done multiple weddings on Wednesdays and Thursdays, whatever other day, Sundays. So if you're getting married in 2022, consider a weekday wedding, right? Especially if you're struggling to keep the guest count low, right? Because honestly, only, like I said, the people who really love you will show up. So if you're like, man, I don't know how to get my guest count from like 200 to 150, a weekday wedding will probably help you, right? And it also makes it much easier to find vendors who are available and all of that, because Saturdays and Sundays are premium dates, Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, right? So weekday weddings are definitely a huge trend. As someone who does a lot of events in New York, it's not a new trend to the New York, New Jersey area. We've been doing this for a long time, and it's the turn up is still very real. Okay, so consider a weekday wedding in 2022. Another major trend for 2022, it's something that's been going on for a while, but at this point has become almost a staple at weddings, is having pyrotechnics, right, of some sort. Generally speaking, we're talking about sparklers coming from the ground. So sometimes people use these when it's time to cut the cake, right? When there's a cake cutting, then there's sparklers coming from the ground. Sometimes people also do this for the first dance, or when you're entering the bride and groom, welcoming the bride and groom into the room, you have sparklers to welcome them in. But pyrotechnics are something that are becoming kind of a staple. Like, lots of people want them. There's so many ways to do this. You can also have sparklers during an exit, right? As you're exiting the wedding, everybody can have sparklers, but this is something that's becoming a major trend. It's always festive. Like, it all pretty much kind of never gets old, seeing pyrotechnics and seeing sparklers. So that's something that you want to consider if you want to go over the top, you want to try something a little more over the top, you want to do something fun, right? Like, that's something you want to consider. And of course, if you're having pyrotechnics during like your first dance or something like that, you also probably want to add a dance fog. So usually there's like fog covering the ground while the sparklers are coming up. It's a nice touch, especially because it helps to cover the actual boxes that the sparklers are coming out of. So everything looks really like cool and smooth. And my last trend for this year is going to be having weddings at home, right? And this is for so many reasons. We did so many events in people's homes during the pandemic, and they were all freaking gorgeous, right? So I want to show you one. One is this wedding. I think I'm going to show you in the cards, a wedding that we did in Maryland. It was so beautiful. We did it in front of our client's townhome in the courtyard. It was beautiful. But there's so many options for getting married at home. And getting married at home is great because you're not, at the mercy of venues availability. Your house is your venue, right? Your backyard is your venue. So you can just pick the day that works for you, right? You don't have to worry about when the venue is available. It's also a great option because chances are, if you're getting married at home, you're getting married outdoors, which helps a lot to, especially if you're concerned about the spread of COVID, if you're concerned about keeping people safe, like being outside, especially during the daytime, it's very comforting for everyone, right? Being outdoors is just a very different experience from being indoors during a pandemic. So that's something else that's really cool. And 3, honestly, I'm not the only one who planned a lot of weddings at home. Lots of people had at-home weddings during the pandemic, and I think that has awakened everybody to the beauty of what could really happen by getting married in your own home. What could really be done with a backyard? What could be done with a courtyard? So I think that we're starting to see how beautiful things are. I mean, we've seen people get married on their front stoop, and it was gorgeous. So there's so much that could be done at home. So that's like a really big trend that I'm also anticipating as we're going more into 2022. All right. I hope that you've enjoyed these trends. I hope that this has been helpful for you as you're planning your wedding or your event. Don't forget, before you go, hit that subscribe button and hit the like button. Both of those help us so much. And stay tuned, because we've got so many more tips as usual coming your way as you're planning your special events. And we'll also, of course, be spotlighting lots of our couples so that you get to just sit back and watch weddings unfold. All right. So once again, thanks again for watching, and I can't wait to catch you in the next video. Don't forget to check the description for links, different ways you can connect with us and work with us. And like I said, we'll be back with more content and more videos very soon. All right. Ciao.